I know what you are thinking. You're probably wondering, hey, this seems like a Dr. Stone chapter, and you haven't reviewed Dr. Stone in over a year or more. Well, the thing is, you're right. It's just that this chapter made me so upset I had to review it. Also, this finally closes the saga that has been bothering me for the longest time. Dr. Stone has long since been a series I have read and I enjoyed, but then after a very long time, I think after the Treasure Island arc, I'm not even sure I reviewed when I stopped reviewing it, but I know it was sometimes just by the end of the Treasure Island arc where I thought the pacing was just getting so very slow. I have not reviewed so much about the rest of the thing, where the guy got to America and then later to South America because everyone died, and I hate when people die in manga, mostly because it wasn't even confirmed to me yet if they can be revived. The miracle fluid and everything else have been is very noteworthy to be very amazing, but I still am very skeptical if they ever can come back to life. Well, regardless, however, this is me, the angry anime fan, although I technically mostly review Eden Zero, as you know. But for now, I'm just reviewing Eden Zero chapter 193. And the easiest way to summarize it is that last chapter, the petrification being began to head towards everything. Suka was the only one who could get to be underneath that potion where the last revival fluid will land on her, which means that she will be the first new human that will be reborn in the new world. And she likely will be the one to, well, save everyone. How that doesn't happen, I don't know. Either way, in this chapter, Seno is just so very stunned about everything in this, as Stanley considers that he should actually shoot the formula because, well, that will guarantee their win and hopefully can land on someone else. But he also knows that if he does that, then it is the official end of the humanity. But then he listens to Stanley and Zeno's last conversation, as it turns out that Zeno was so much like Senku as anyone else can imagine, because it turns out that Stanley really were his childhood friend. I always thought that Stanley would become like a betrayer because it was so cold, but nah, his loyalty to Zeno was genuine. He was just as Taiyo in that manner. The only difference between that is that, unlike Taiyo, he had no empathy and was much smarter. But it seems that his loyalty and his friendship to Zeno, that was genuine. Because Zeno just remarks that he and Senku, I mean, Zeno and Senku was alike. They could have ruled the world together. However, Senku says just before he gets petrified that I'm just a greedy person because I don't have any interest in world conquer. I would rather craft the world of the future. That's what gets me excited. So with that, Zeno admits defeat that he's petrified, saying that you were the greedy ones. As to say their final farewell, about saying they will meet again. Stanley suddenly realizes that Zeno will undoubtedly be re-petrified. I mean, de-petrified one day. Mostly because, again, Zeno is a brilliant inventor. Yes, he was morally corrupted and many things more. But that kind of science is something the team would have needed if they wanted to get to the moon. So, and he also knows that as long as he, the most dangerous one, is petrified, then Zeno will cooperate because, again, his friendship with Zeno was genuine. So with that, he takes one last smoke and admits defeat himself, saying, "You kids won this war." Elsewhere, the beam hits everyone else as everyone curls up in order to not break. And so, alas, the world is once again covered in petrification as the lone shark and Sagara are the only ones left, now living in a world where there's no new humans. And so the narration finishes. On that day, every human turned to stone once again. But also adds that unlike before, this time they know they will be depetrified, but they just don't know when. So with that, Senku starts counting as we see winter go by and spring goes by. It's unknown exactly how long time passes. But we do see a new picture of Schalke and Sagara being a lot bigger, although it's not exactly known what their ages are, but they were children back then, so this seems to imply they're now grown up. And as we will see, it may imply that it has been at least 2 years for everything to pass. So the biggest thing is that Suka was under the tower, the same tower that once a storm hits, the formula will drop on her. Because Luna and the others, they try to throw it at the same time, but unlike the rest of the calculated freaks, they couldn't just do it. So they are gonna they get depetrified. So the first human that will be depetrified eventually is Zuka. But there's just one thing, I have a very, very, very big problem with these. And that is, even if Zuka is depetrified, and she is one of the best characters in the series, and she is a very reliable and useful girl, the biggest question I ask is that last chapter, the entire formula was destroyed completely. Bam, bam, bam. It was destroyed. Only one bottle was left, and that bottle will land on Suka. So what I'm trying to say here is, how will she create the formula? That is nothing I don't understand. Maybe she has paid attention to Senku. I mean, again, we shouldn't underestimate Suka. And also, everything that the gang worked for these couple of years, it's been all for nothing. Because now they are depetrified again. And again, if they are going to get depetrified, they will have to resume everything again. Because boats, metal, and everything else, it will rust. So I'm just saying, how many years will pass? But this long conflict is finally over. Now the only question I need left is, when will Suka be petrified? Will she be able to find a way to remake the reviver formula? And most importantly, will everyone who died in the war be revived? That is what I need to know. In the meantime, do give me your thoughts if you have any.